Hey guys, welcome back for the second part of my new spoonie type videos. I would love to think of a good title for these. Something like Your Resident Sicko, not sure. But in this video I wanted to quickly mention something that I cannot believe I left off my last video, which is like absolute classic brain fog. That I didn't talk about CBD. CBD oil is like a game changer. It's helped me get off prescription pain meds. It helps me with my sleep. I've tried a few different brands and these are my two favourite. This is Trip. If you don't know what CBD is, I'm not going to explain it on here. I'll link some info down below, mainly because I'll probably get my advert switched off if I talk about it. It's up to you to research. Obviously in other countries they have the fully legalised version. Here we don't have access to that, so CBD oil is 100% legal and is like an alternative. So Trip is the brand that I use. I also love their little canned drinks as like an alcohol alternative. I spoke about them in a Jalen's bar in the bookcase tag. But I love the strong, this is 1,000 milligrams. Please look up how you dose CBD and stuff. It's definitely a trial and error game. You can't really overdose or do anything like dangerous. It's not the same as taking prescription meds, but I have the strong one from Trip. I also have a £5 off discount. It doesn't cost you any more, but I'll link it down below. It's made in London, it ships really quickly, and I have the strong one, and I love this one because it's mint and chamomile flavour, and I've tried some in the past that taste like so soily, and now I have a minty one. I could never not get a minty one again, so I love this. They also have a lower strength one. If you're just starting out with CBD and experimenting, then I recommend getting that to start with. It is expensive, CBD is expensive, but if you compare it to like how much money you might spend on other medication and stuff, it's totally worth it for me, and I was like really skeptical of it to start with, and I really like it. Then the other brand, one of my beautiful friends for my birthday got me this brand. It's called Love Hemp, and this is 1,200 milligrams, and this is also peppermint flavour, which I really like, and both of these are made with MCT oil, which is like a coconut derived oil, so they are really good ingredients. They're not filled with loads of filler and like other stuff that you don't know what it is, and MCT is really good for brain function, so that's like a double whammy. I like this one as well because it's a spray. This is, yeah, even stronger than this one, and I'm really enjoying using both. I use them for pain and I use them for sleep, so if you haven't experimented with CBD before, that's for you. All of the things that I said in the last video stand about boundaries and trauma dumping and all of that stuff, but today I wanted to talk to you about two things, which is pacing and mental health, mental support when you are a person living in a chronically sick body. So pacing, spoons theory. Spoons theory, in short, is basically this idea that as a sick person you have a specific number of spoons that you can spend per day, and in an ideal world you want to get to the end of the day and still have 1 or 2 spoons left. When you are without any spoons, you cannot do anything except rest and maybe like crawl to the toilet. We're talking like that's like bottom level, no battery power left, cannot compute. And if you don't manage your spoons and pace well, you end up in like a crash and burn cycle where you like use all your energy by like 12 and then you end up crashing, and then you keep going round and round, and it's harder to get out of those phases. So it's really hard to pace. It's like an everyday practice that you have to discipline yourself with. I was so bad at pacing for so long. I just was very of the mindset of like neoliberal, push through, it'll be fine, don't worry, I'll deal with the consequences, and that's just not a sustainable way to live your life. Like, it's not helpful. I understand using spoons in places that you don't want to use them is definitely part and parcel of like being a sick person. If you work full time, it's incredibly difficult to pace. There's some really cool people on Instagram. I'm actually going to shout out some pages at the end, but there's a really great post on like pacing when you can't fully stop, that Natasha Shipman, I believe her name is, who blogs a lot about chronic illness, did a really good set of information about that, so I'll link that down below. Okay, one thing that helps me is to-do lists. I do all my to-do lists on my iPad. I used to be a pen and paper diary gal, but since I like in recent times, I don't know why, I've really like doing it on my iPad. So I use the app Good Notes, and then I have like different notebooks in there. I have one for YouTube, I keep a weekly to-do list, which is categorised under like book stuff, health stuff, uni stuff, admin, flat stuff. And then that's like me brain dumping everything I want to do in a week. And then underneath that I don't have a good example because this is like for the weekend, so I don't really split stuff into days on the weekends, but this is like everything I would like to accomplish in the weekend. And I put things like wash my hair, clean my bed sheets, hoover, take book to post office, like very small tasks that I can see written out. And what I will do is I will like normally do a few days in advance. So like I've got the weekend here, then on Sunday night I'll sit down and do like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, put in what days I've got appointments, like things I know cost me spoons, like driving to my medical appointment, having my treatment and coming back, like that cost spoons. Last week I got vaccinated, that took a lot of spoons, like things like that. So I can really like envision in my mind what I'm gonna do each day and then work around those things that like that I would like to do. So like I would like to write a book, I would like to post a book review 5 times a week, but that is absolutely not necessary for me to live my life. Like that's a bonus. So normally I write things in red that I have to do. Like today I had to refill my pillbox organizer because if I didn't do that, that would like mess up the rest of my week, and that's like an essential to my health. But things in pink, like I would like to hoover the flat, but if I don't hoover the flat today, it's fine. So I find that really helpful, this like prioritizing sort of like traffic-like method of organizing my to-do list. And I think the reason why I like doing it on my iPad is because I can erase things. The thing with chronic illness and the thing with pacing is that you can't guarantee you'll have 10 spoons every day. Like I might get 10 today, but tomorrow I might only have 4. Or I might have an endo flare and I really can only do the bare minimum. So having that traffic light system means I can cross off everything that is not immediate priority for me. And you really have to be strict for yourself. Like you might feel like hoovering is really a priority, but it's not. Like that is not essential to your well-being at this moment in time. So be kind to yourself when you write these lists. But it helps me to brain dump because I struggle with anxiety and I have a very type A personality, and previous to getting sick I was like very much a doer, 100% all the time. I love making lists and I've had to find a way to turn that like perfectionist energy into working for my illness instead of against it. So traffic lighting on my to-do list I find really helpful. Sorry, I've lost my list now, haven't I? Alarm self-check-ins. My friend SICKO spoke about this in the video I referenced in my last video. Setting alarms on your phone. I have alarms for medication and like sort of like they double up as alarms to check in on myself with. I also find having an accountability partner really helpful for this if you're struggling with pacing. So one of my other friends who I'm really close to who's sick, if we are, this is like pre-COVID or as the world, people start doing stuff again, and I was like, so for example, when I was celebrating my birthday the other week, she wasn't there because she was unwell, but she was texting me like every 4 hours on WhatsApp being like, hey, just to check in, remember to take 5, like even sit down in the loo, like if I'm out in a public space and I'm feeling like, whoa, energy is draining, like I'm an introvert, so talking uses a lot of my energy, being out in public, like stimulation for people with chronic illness can be really hard. So having someone who can check in on you, say like, hey, how are you doing? Take those 5 minutes, go sit in the loo, or take a breather, that's really helpful. And so either having a partner or using alarms to do that check-in and think, where am I at? How many spoons do I have? What are the things I need to get left done, I need to do today, and what else can I do to make it easier for myself? Because that really avoids getting to 12 o'clock and realising I've got no spoons left and I haven't made lunch or dinner and I haven't been to the meeting I need to do. So it's really about being kind to yourself and working out what is absolute priority and what can be left for another day. And that goes for whether you work or study or whatever. Like letting go of the idea that you need to do 100% of everything is so helpful with pacing, because maybe you don't need to wash your hair every other day and have it looking glam. Maybe you don't need to contribute to every meeting you attend. You can just sit quietly. Like, it's really about letting go of those needs to be perfect at everything. And I feel like there's a big crossover in the Venn diagram of like people with chronic illness and people that maybe have type A personality, and where we fall in the middle. And honestly, sometimes I think we do ourselves more harm than good with those kind of things. So that's that one. Next one is having boundaries with friends. I find this extremely hard to exercise. I find it hard to be vulnerable, so I think having boundaries with people in your life is really hard. And I think only in my most recent deterioration of my health have I found it, have I felt like I had to put those boundaries in place to tell people that I can't do things. And I've only been given back like love and gratitude, and have felt so supported by my friends, and that's definitely a privilege and not always the case. Like, you will come across people who aren't prepared to meet your access needs or understand the way that you need to live your life and how they need to adjust to it. Things like, I live in a different city to my friends, so my friends will drive and come and see me for the day instead of me going back there for the day, or they know that if I sleep at their house I need to go to bed at a certain time, or I need to you know, just like things that like you live your life by yourself, and sharing those with other people is really helpful. Like, I can't handle having plans change last minute. It really raises my anxiety, and that's attached to my illness, because I like knowing where plans are, because that is like, I like going to places I've been before because that reduces stimulation. I like knowing where the bathroom is because I have gastric issues. I like knowing how close I am to my home if something happens. I like knowing how near I am to Tom if I need help. Like, all those things come into play when I am just going to the pub. So having plans change last minute really like sets off my nervous system and sets me into fight or flight mode, and I panic. So I think if you have things like that that work for you, then you have to share those with the people in your life, and that's the only way you can, you know, be a good friend to people, because otherwise you would just run yourself down, and you can't pour from an empty cup. And as a sick person, like, your cup is very, very, you know, small and valuable, so giving up those things just for the sake of pleasing other people is no use to anyone. So I really can't like say that setting boundaries is more important, and reciprocal to that is if you have sick people in your life, or even, I just think this is a good rule of friendship, is asking people before you deliver something to them, saying, do you have space for me to talk to you about this today? Do you have the energy for me to dump this on you or whatever? Because it is traumatic to have people constantly give you stuff when you're already dealing with so much. And that's not to say that you can't handle it, it's just this idea of like asking permission. And alongside that, I feel like if you're not a sick person and you speak to sick people, is also asking people, do you want me to listen to you, or are you looking for a solution? And that is so helpful with so many things, because the worst thing you can do is you're complaining to someone like, oh my god, my boyfriend did this, this and this, and it's so annoying, and they're giving you back all these answers like, have you tried this, have you thought about that? And that's not what you want. Like, you just want someone to listen to you. And I think asking those questions, are you looking for a solution, or do you just need a space to vent, is really helpful in preserving everyone's energy. So that's a rant about that. And then alongside those boundaries with friends is social media, and like having time limits on your social media. So many doctors and practitioners I've spoken to is like, when you're at your illest, you really should like spend a limited amount of time on your phone or in front of blue light screens for your nervous system, as well as like just your own mental health. Like, seeing people do stuff, obviously, and this pandemic has heightened those things like tenfold. I was really good for like a long time. I had like an hour block on all my social media, so I could only go on them for an hour a day, and that's definitely been turned off, and I've fallen off the bandwagon. It's something I would love to get back into, but those really helped me. Timeouts and mantras, I've already spoken about timeouts, but along with pacing is like use of mantras. So with pacing, if you feel yourself coming into a crash, or you feel yourself getting burnt out, and it's, you know, you still had more things to do, so you can easily fall into that panic mode, which sets off the flight or fight response in your body, and that stresses your body out even more and can make your symptoms worse. So mantras like, I am safe, I see you body, I hear you body, like, I am resting, things like that I find really helpful to repeat in my meditation, or with like belly breathing. In for 3, hold for 3, out for 4, like always exhale for longer than you inhale. Those sort of small toolkit things you can use in moments of like real SOS, I find useful to remember. And also that's like always what I'm talking to my friends about. If like my sick friends, if someone's like, oh my god, this happened, I'm like, stop, breathe, all we have is this moment, all we have is right now. We can't predict what we're going to happen tomorrow. We can't predict and wish what we should have done yesterday. Like, we only have the here and now. And the thing with chronic illness, because they fluctuate so much, you have to learn to ride the wave, especially with chronic pain, because you can so easily fall into this way of thinking of like, I'm going down, and the only way is to keep going down. But we know that these things come in waves, we know that they fluctuate, we know for every downturn that there is an uptick. So reminding yourself of these things like nothing is forever and pain is temporary and my body is safe is really, really helpful. And I don't know if that resonates with everyone in the way that you, like, if you're not a person who views like world and body and things in that sort of holistic spiritual sense, and I don't consider myself religious, but those messages to your brain are really helpful in actually calming down physical symptoms. So it's sort of a fake it till you make it situation. If you don't believe in it, just keep trying it, I promise you. Reminding your body that you are safe will reduce your physical sensation of fear, which is what we want to do. Okay, I think that is all I have on pacing. It's a lifelong practice. You've got to keep trying it and you've got to be strict with yourself. Okay, the next thing is mental health. This is like a huge topic and it's so intertwined with everything else that we talk about, but having sick friends and community support systems are so important as a sick person. Making those connections with people if you can in your real life. I know obviously during the year that we've had it's really difficult, but there are a lot of support groups out there you can get in touch with. There are systems in place for people to find other people, and if not, obviously like Instagram and Twitter, the NEIS Void on Twitter is really useful, as well as like Spoonie community. All those sorts of things on Instagram are really useful. I put communication via memes. This is just about like talking to friends, either talking to sick friends, or if you're a healthy person watching, and how you interact with your friends in your life that are sick. I think particularly when you're bedbound or have like real downturns in your illness where you're really unable to function at all, then it feels like there's nothing to do. Like, it's hard for a healthy person to imagine being so ill that you can't even watch TV, listen to music, read a book, listen to an audiobook. Like, there are times when you can't tolerate anything remotely stimulating, so it's really hard to do things. In periods I've had like that, I've done watercolour in bed, or my friend at the moment is suffering a lot, and so we do lots of just games on WhatsApp, like not games that you have to play, but we'll send each other pictures of dogs and be like, which dog is better, or like if you had to name this dog, what would you call it? And I'll just like get random pictures on Instagram. Another thing which is so nice to do, and I love receiving from my healthy friends as well as my sick friends, is like photos of memories that we've had together, and things like, oh, I can't wait till we can experience this again, or like, and it's not even like a massive holiday to Mexico, it's like a photo of you at a picnic or you guys swimming together, and something like that will really like boost me on a day that I'm having a really bad time. I find that really good to like look forward to the future and remind myself like I did have good times before and I will continue to have good times as a sick and disabled person. So I love sending photos, and with that as well, it like with my sick friends or with healthy people who are my friends as well, doing book exchanges, sending postcards, sending pictures. Recently I've got really into like drawing on my iPad, and I love to send drawings to like my sick friends, like mantras that we like and things that we're interested in, or just like pictures that I'm no artiste at all, but drawing things like that, and just filling your time with something that feels valuable, because when you are literally stuck in four walls in a bed and you can open your eyes for maybe 10 minutes at a time, like there is so little that you feel like is worth living for. Like honestly, it's such a toll on your mental health when your world is so small. So it takes such mental strength to get through those periods, and there's people who live through them for much longer stints of time than I have, and that is just, I'm in awe of all my fellow sickies who can do that, because it is just really hard. Another thing that comes along with that is if you suffer with disassociation or like trouble staying present in your body in periods of pain or periods in bed and things like that, I find like grounding techniques really helpful. So I mentioned my acupressure mat and another one, but another thing I like to do is these finger taps where I just count and I can feel them tapping each other. So I'm like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and go back the other way and like make a pattern out of them, and that like sort of like sensation of being in your body I find that quite helpful. Always just the shoulder rolls, like anytime I see any of my friends sick or not sitting at a table, I'm like, roll back your shoulders, let them droop, let them go down. You know, you hold so much tension up here, so I find that really good. Days when you're stuck inside as well, or you are unable to get fresh air, which I found really hard. I've done like weeks and weeks where I haven't had fresh air because I don't have a garden, and like going down my stairs in my flat is really hard. So literally sticking your head out of a window is so beneficial. Just take those deep breaths, get that fresh air, even if you live on a main road. Like, I promise you'll feel so much better. Even when it's cold outside, I have my window open. If I'm in bed, just getting that air circulation going feels really good. And it's just those small things that, you know, make a difference. Photos of the outside world when I'm in bed, or if I'm well and one of my sick friends is unwell, and I do this on my Instagram a lot, as I like to put up photos of things outside, you know, not like, woo, me at a party, but just like the beach, the road, the sky. Like, I appreciate seeing views of things when I look out of my windows all the time and I only see the same things. So I love little photo exchanges with my friends, and to really focus on like the small things in life, and just like, it's so cheesy, like gratitude and all that stuff, but it makes such a difference. My friend and I often do a WhatsApp message exchange where we like say the smallest joy of our day, and it would be like something so tiny, and we try and make them like as minuscule and, you know, something that no one would really notice, but it brought us joy. You know, like literally like the sun hitting a particular point on my bed, or my postman saying something funny to me, like really tiny things, and just holding on to those when times get really hard, because having that to look back on is really useful. And like having those messages, sometimes when I'm in, I literally just read through old messages, or like look through my group chat WhatsApp pictures. I do that all the time of my book friends' WhatsApp pictures, because it's mostly pictures of pets and then like Kieran's kids. So I like doing that as well. Two like more technique things I use for days are illness holidays. Me and my friend call them. Like, that's not a coined term that many people use, but we like, it's so all consuming to live in a sick body, and it's so mind numbing to think about how ill you are all the time. And there was an essay in Disability Visibility called Chasing a Cure about like this search for answers. And when you live particularly with these like more nebulous illnesses, mystery illnesses, undiagnosed things that have no cure, no end, then you can often find that your mind is taken up by thinking about things you should be doing, things you could have done better, asking yourself like all of these questions. And so taking illness holidays I find really helpful, because as much as the sick community online is useful, it can also be really all consuming, where you spend all your time thinking about like things to try and what to do, and talking to other people about things they've tried, and it's a lot. So these sort of breaks, me and my friend call them illness holidays, where we're just like, today we're not going to talk about it. We're just not going to talk about it. And that's not to say like if suddenly something happened we wouldn't talk about it, but for example, like when I went away for my birthday with my mum, I was so lucky to stay in a cottage, I was like, I'm just taking a break. Like, I'm not sticking to my super strict diet. I'm not like abiding by every single rule I've ever made for myself about pacing. Like, sometimes you just need to live a little and let go of the fear, particularly if you have an energy limiting illness. There's such a line between like living in fear of doing anything wrong and running out of spoons to crashing and burning. And it's like really hard to find that middle ground, but I think losing the fear of consequences of doing something that you enjoy is really, really helpful. And that's what I've been doing recently. I think it's a lot easier to do it, obviously, if you have a little bit more strength, but that's been really, really good. Another thing that me and my friend always call it is distract and relax. Like when you're in a lot of pain particularly, and like maybe the things that you normally work aren't working, then we just go for distract and relax. And that's like the things that you find most comforting. Like my friend's is Grace and Frankie, like that's her favourite thing, and Amazing Hotels of the World. Mine is nature documentaries. Just finished the 4-part series on Secret Lives of Whales on Disney+. Disney, like animated films, and David Attenborough. That's it, because I can listen to those with my eyes closed. I can zone out. I've watched them 100 times, but they bring me comfort and I find them super relaxing. Like engaging in new television is really hard when you're sick sometimes, so distract and relax. Have the list of those shows that you know are really good. And one last thing that my friend and I do together is this thing we've called FOD, fear of the day, where you know you harbour these fears about your illness. I'm sure everyone who's sick does, where like, oh my god, what if I end up permanently in a hospital? And so many of them are linked to internalised ableism. What if I don't know, have to have a carer for the rest of my life? And it's all these things that you are fearful of because you've been raised in an ableist society, but it's really easy to like let those just like fester in your mind. So my friend and I often will just be like, what's your fear today? And we'll just get it out there. And once you name it, it always seems less scary. So that's something useful to do. Again, that comes with permission and trusting friendships and relationships with real people that you have a symbiosis with, not just dumping into someone you don't really know's DM and telling them what you're scared about, because that's no good. One thing that's helped my friend that I don't have for myself is a heart rate monitor. If you have POTS, or if you have any kind of condition that affects your heart, then there's a lot of anxiety that comes along with heart issues. I know that there's like so many memes about like chest pain and you're like, am I gonna die today? Or is it POTS? So having a heart rate monitor, my friend has found really useful, being able to rationalise why your heart rate is raised or why it's going slow, and that can really help you like get rid of those fears about like, oh my god, because everyone just thinks about hearts and then thinks like heart attack, stroke, like these really big scary things. So that's been really useful for her. I think that is basically everything. I'm trying to think. Along with the anxiety, obviously there's a lot of health related anxiety that people have. One of my friends actually runs a really cool Instagram page about health anxiety. I will link it down below. But if you are like if you have ME, fibromyalgia, any of those like chronic pain diseases, then I recommend looking into neuroplasty, brain retraining. My friend's doing the Gupta method. I will like link some resources down below, basically about like fight or flight and how your brain and nervous system response is tuned to make you stuck in these cycles, which is really useful. I will link all of my favourite disabled people down below and chronically sick people that I follow. I love Jamisha from You Look Okay to Me. I love Nina Tame and her talking about life in a wheelchair. I love South Asian Endo Warriors talking about endometriosis. Mary from Invalid Art is absolutely fantastic, and Chronically Cranky is my favourite meme page ever, so I will link that down below. I think that's everything I have to say. I want to do some writing on spoons and like this collective language of illness, and also the co-opting of the word brain fog. I don't know if any other sickies have seen like lots of newspapers and journalists and like able-bodied folk using brain fog to refer to like the post-pandemic malaise, which I don't know, I've been speaking to some other sick friends and we don't like that. That's our thing. So yeah, I'm going to do some writing about that. That will come out in my newsletter. Anything else you have to share if you're a sick person below? If not, please send this to any sick people in your life, or if you have any other tips you would think would be helpful, then please get going in the comments. I would love for everyone to interact with each other about it. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.